Captain Ji-ho Kim looked out the big window of his spaceship, the Celestial Dawn. Below him was a huge planet made of swirling gas and storms. The planet was called Tempest Prime, and it was very far from Earth. Ji-ho had been traveling through space for 6 months with his crew to reach this place. His job was simple, but important. He had to set up the first human mining station in deep space. The mining station would dig up valuable metals and crystals that Earth needed, but the job was not going well. His crew was angry with him, and Ji-ho did not know why. Ji-ho was 32 years old and had been a space captain for 8 years. He was tall with black hair and kind eyes. Other humans said he was a good leader because he cared about people. But his alien crew members did not like this about him. The aliens on his ship came from 2 different worlds. The first group were called Phyrexians. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had sharp teeth and yellow eyes. Their leader was Commander Thakmar. He was big and mean and always wanted to fight. The second group were called Zelthians. They looked like tall, thin humans, but with blue skin and no hair. They were very smart with computers and math. Their leader was Engineer Vashika. She always talked about money and how to make more of it. Ji-ho also had 2 humans on his crew. Min-ho Park was the navigator. He was young and nervous and always worried about everything. Sujin Lee was the communications officer. She was quiet and spent most of her time listening to radio signals from other ships. For months, the aliens had been complaining about Ji-ho. They said humans were too slow to make decisions. They said humans cared too much about feelings and not enough about getting work done. They especially did not like how Ji-ho wanted to be nice to the alien natives who lived on the moons around Tempest Prime. Captain Commander Thakmar said as he walked onto the bridge. His big feet made loud sounds on the metal floor. "We need to talk about the mission." Ji-ho turned around. "What about it, Commander? The mining operation is behind schedule. We should just take what we need from the moons. The natives are primitive. They will not stop us." "No," Ji-ho said firmly. "We will ask for permission first. We will trade with them fairly. That is the human way." Thakmar's yellow eyes got angry. "The human way is weak. In the Phyrexian Empire, we take what we need. It is faster." Engineer Vashika stepped forward. Her blue skin looked cold under the ship's lights. "The captain is costing us time and money. Every day we wait, we lose profits. The Zelthian corporate syndicate would have finished this job weeks ago." "I am the captain of this ship," Ji-ho said. "We will do this the right way." The 2 aliens looked at each other. Ji-ho saw something pass between them, but he did not know what it meant. They walked away without saying more words later that day. Ji-ho prepared to go down to the moon called Kethsavon. The natives there were called the Cathani. They looked like humans, but were shorter and had gray skin. They lived in small villages and farmed strange plants. "I will go alone to meet with their leaders," Ji-ho told his crew. "I want to show them we come in peace." Captain Min-ho said nervously, "Maybe someone should come with you." "What if something goes wrong?" "Nothing will go wrong," Ji-ho smiled. The Cathani seemed friendly. "I studied their language. I can talk to them." Ji-ho took a small shuttle down to the moon's surface. The moon had breathable air and gravity, almost like Earth. The Cathani village was made of round houses built from white stone. Their leader was an old man named Morthic. He had wise eyes and spoke slowly. "Welcome, Sky Traveler," Morthic said in his own language. "Why do you come to our world?" Ji-ho spoke carefully in the Cathani language. "I come to ask for friendship. My people need the shiny rocks in your mountains. We want to trade for them, not take them." Morthic smiled. "You speak our words well. Most sky travelers do not learn our language. They just take what they want and leave." I am not like them, Jiho said. Humans believe in fairness. While Jiho talked with the village leaders, something bad was happening on his ship. Commander Thokmar and Engineer Vashika were meeting in secret with Minho and Sujin. The human captain is dangerous, Thokmar said. He makes us look weak in front of the natives. Other aliens will think we are soft. Worse than that, Vashika added, he is costing us money. The longer we wait, the less profit we make. My people will not be happy. Minho looked scared. But Captain Jiho is a good leader. He cares about doing the right thing. The right thing, Thokmar laughed. It was not a nice sound. The right thing is to complete the mission. Nothing else matters. Vashika pulled out a small device. I have been monitoring the moon's seismic activity. There will be earthquakes soon. Very dangerous earthquakes. This was a lie, but Minho and Sujin did not know that. We need to leave now, Thokmar said. If we stay, we will all die. But what about Captain Jiho? Sujin asked. There is no time to get him, Vashika said, showing them fake readings on her device. The earthquakes will start in 1 hour. If we do not leave now, the ship will be destroyed. Minho and Sujin looked at each other. They were scared and confused. They trusted their alien crewmates and believed the lies. Start the engines, Thokmar ordered. Send a message to the captain. Tell him we have an emergency. Down on the moon, Jiho was having tea with the Cathani elders. They were talking about how humans and Cathani could work together. Suddenly, his communication device made a loud beeping sound. Captain Sujin's voice sounded panicked. You need to get back to the ship right now. The moon is going to have terrible earthquakes. We have to leave immediately. Jiho stood up quickly. I am coming. Prepare my shuttle, for there is no time. Thokmar's voice cut in. The seismic activity is too dangerous. We must jump to hyperspace now, or we will all die. Wait. Jiho shouted into his communicator. Do not leave without me. That is an order. But the communication device went silent. Jiho ran outside the village and looked up at the sky. Far above, he could see the lights of his ship. The celestial dawn was moving away from the moon. No, 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 Jiho said, pulling out his emergency beacon. He pressed the button over and sending distress signals to his ship. The Cathani villagers came out to see what was wrong. They watched as the human captain stared at the sky with sad eyes. High above, the celestial dawn charged its hyperspace drive. The ship began to glow with blue light. Then, in a flash, it was gone. Jiho's only way home had disappeared into the stars. Jiho fell to his knees on the alien ground. His crew had left him behind. But he did not know the truth yet. He did not know that Commander Thokmar and Engineer Vashika had planned this. He did not know that there were no earthquakes coming. He did not know that his own people, Minho and Sujin, had helped betray him. Old Morthic put a gentle hand on Jiho's shoulder. Sky Traveler, he said softly, your sky ship is gone, but you are not alone. The Cathani will help you. Jiho looked up at the alien elder. He was stranded on an unknown moon, millions of miles from Earth, with no way to get home. His crew had abandoned him. But in Morthic's kind eyes, he saw something he had not expected. He saw hope. 3 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The aliens had wasted no time showing their true faces. On the colony world of New Busan, Governor Temin stood on his office balcony and watched the alien ships land. The Vorthok vessels looked like giant crystal spiders, their legs digging deep holes in his people's farmland. Black smoke rose from the landing sites where the alien ships had burned the crops. Sir, his assistant Jong Ho said from behind him, the Vorthok Commander wants to meet with you. Taman did not turn around. kept watching the destruction of his colony's food supply. Tell him I will see him in 1 hour. And Jong-ho, send a message to Hai-jin. Tell her it is time. An hour later, the Vorthok commander stood in Taemin's office. The crystal being was 8 feet tall and glowed with a cold blue light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like breaking glass. Human Governor, I am Commander Zelek. We are here to help your colony grow and become better. Taemin sat behind his desk with his hands folded. Help us. You just destroyed 6 months of food crops. Those crops were not efficient, Zelek replied. We will dig deep into your world and find valuable metals. Your people can work in our mines. It is much better than farming. And if we refuse? The crystal alien's glow became brighter and redder. You will not refuse. You are weak. All humans are weak. This is why the council chose us to guide you. Taemin stood up slowly. He was a small man, much smaller than the alien commander. But when he spoke, his voice was very calm. Commander Zelek, I think you have made a mistake about humans. What mistake? You think we are weak because we choose to be peaceful. But there is a big difference between cannot fight and will not fight. Before Zelek could respond, the lights in the office went out. Emergency red lights began flashing. Sounds of explosions came from outside, 20 miles away, in the forest near the colony. Hai-jin lay flat on her stomach behind a fallen tree. She held a long rifle and looked through its scope at a Vorthok mining machine. The machine was as big as a house and had 6 crystal legs that dug into the ground. Target acquired, she whispered into her radio. All teams, remember, aim for the joints where the crystal meets. That is where they are weakest. 3 other voices answered her. Team 2 ready. Team 3 ready. Team 4 ready. Hai-jin had been a Special Forces soldier before she came to New Busan to farm. The Galactic Council did not know this. They thought she was just a simple farmer who grew vegetables and raised chickens. They were wrong. Fire, she said. 4 shots rang out at the same time. The bullets were not normal bullets. They were made from a special metal that humans had developed in secret. When they hit the crystal joints, the alien mining machine began to crack and fall apart. The machine crashed to the ground with a sound like 1,000 windows breaking. Blue liquid, that was the alien version of blood, leaked from the cracks. Shooting came a voice over the radio. It was Sun-ho, the leader of Team 2. He used to be a sniper in the Earth military. He pretended to be a school teacher. Machine down, Hai-jin replied. Move to target 2. Back in the governor's office, more explosions shook the building. Commander Zelek's crystal body was flashing angry red colors. What is happening? He demanded. Taemin walked to his window and looked out. In the distance, he could see fires where the alien mining machines had been destroyed. My people are showing you that we are not as weak as you thought. This is impossible. Humans do not fight. You told the council you were peaceful. We are peaceful, Taemin said. When people leave us alone. But you did not leave us alone. Raised one of his crystal arms. Sharp spikes grew from it like weapons. I will kill you for this. I do not think so, Taemin replied. The office door opened. 3 humans walked in. They wore black clothes and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Their faces were painted with dark colors to hide in the shadows. The aliens had never seen humans like this before. Governor, the lead soldier said. The area is secure. All alien mining equipment has been destroyed. Zelek stared at the human soldiers. But you are supposed to be farmers and teachers and artists. We are, Taemin said. Hai-jin grows the best tomatoes on the colony. Sun-ho teaches children to read. But before we came here, we had other jobs. On Earth, in a deep underground room beneath the capital city, President Sajan sat at a large table with 20 other people. The room had no windows and the walls were very thick. This was where Earth's real leaders met when the galaxy was not watching. "Report," the president said. Defense Minister Chun-Hei stood up. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her eyes were sharp like a hawk's. New Busan has successfully fought off the first alien attack. Governor Timon's people performed perfectly. Casualties? None on our side. The aliens lost 12 mining machines and 30 soldiers. President Siaja nodded. Good. What about the other colonies? New Seoul reports similar success. The hegemony tried to set up factories there. The colonists destroyed them all in 6 hours. And New Gangnam. The Luminari tried to take control of their power systems. The colonists shut down all alien equipment and captured 5 enemy commanders. The president looked around the table. At his advisors, these people had been planning for this day for 3 years. Ever since they first made contact with the Galactic Council, they knew this would happen. "It is time," he said. "Activate Protocol 7. Chun-Hei pressed a button. On her tablet, across the galaxy, every human colony received the same message at the same time. The message was short. The mask comes off. Show them what we really are. On Nexus Prime Station, Ji-Wan sat in her secret room and watched the alien leaders panic. The Vorthok were flashing red and orange with anger. The hegemony were clicking their teeth so fast it sounded like machine gun fire. The Luminari were burning bright white with fury. How is this possible? The Vorthok leaders sang in a high, angry voice. The humans were weak. They cried about their violent past. They lied. The hegemony leader clicked. They tricked us. No. The Luminar leader pulsed with dark red light. They've told us the truth. They do hate violence. They do want peace. But they want it on their terms, not ours. Ji-Wan smiled as she recorded everything. The aliens were finally starting to understand. But it was too late. She opened a communication channel to Earth. "Command, this is Agent Ji-Wan. The colonies have performed perfectly. The aliens are confused and angry. They thought they were hunting sheep, but they found wolves instead." "Understood," came the reply. "Phase 3 begins in 48 hours. Prepare for full revelation." Ji-Wan looked at her screens showing the panicking aliens. Soon they would learn the truth about humanity. Earth had not gotten rid of its weapons and armies. It had simply gotten much better at hiding them. The humans had spent 3 years pretending to be weak and peaceful. They had fooled the entire galaxy. But now the game was over. Soon the aliens would learn that the most dangerous enemy is not the one who cannot choose peace. It is the one who can choose peace but decides to choose war instead. And humanity had just made that choice. 6 months after Ji-Ho activated the first one's technology, Moon Keth 7 looked completely different. The ancient machines had transformed the barren valleys into green gardens. New buildings made of the same black stone as the ruins grew from the ground like plants. The Cathani villages now had clean water, warm houses, and food that grew faster than ever before. But the most amazing change was the spaceport. The first one's machines had built a landing area for ships, complete with repair facilities and communication arrays that could reach across the galaxy. Ji-Ho had not asked for this, but the ancient AI seemed to know what would be needed. The inheritance includes responsibility. The AI had explained to Ji-Ho in its mathematical language. You must share this gift with others who are worthy. The first visitors arrived by accident. A damaged cargo ship carrying refugees from the war-torn Quithron system detected the new energy signals coming from Moon Keth 7. The ship was barely holding together, and its passengers were desperate. Captain Boguk led a group of insect-like aliens called Quithron. They looked like giant ants that walked upright with 4 arms and large compound eyes. Their homeworld had been destroyed by Vrexian warships, and they were looking for a new place to live. Please, Captain Boguk clicked in broken galactic. Standard language, our ship is dying. Our people are hungry. We ask only for fuel and food. Then we will leave. But Jiho saw how scared and tired the Quithron refugees looked. Their children were thin and weak. Many of the adults had injuries from their escape. You do not have to leave, Jiho said. There is room here for everyone, Silvara translated. Jiho's words into Cathani language for the village elders. Some of them were worried about allowing more aliens on their moon, but Morthek supported Jiho's decision. The Sky Traveler saved us from the Void Beasts, the old elder said. If he says these people are welcome, then they are welcome. Quithron were amazed by the First One's technology. Their species were natural builders and engineers. Within weeks, they were helping the Cathani construct new homes and workshops. In return, the Cathani shared their food and knowledge of the moon's weather patterns. This is how it should be, Jiho thought, as he watched Quithron children playing with Cathani children. Different species helping each other instead of fighting. Word of the peaceful moon spread through the galaxy's underground networks. Pirates, smugglers, and information brokers carried stories of a place where refugees were welcome and amazing technology was freely shared. The next arrival was Dr. Hyeri Choi, a human scientist who escaped from a Zelthian research station. She arrived in a stolen shuttle, badly damaged and almost out of fuel. Hyeri was thin and pale, with scars on her arms from medical experiments. Jiho, she said when she saw him at the spaceport. Captain Jiho, Kim, Q. But you are supposed to be dead. The reports said your ship exploded near Tempest Prime. The reports were lies, Jiho said, helping Hyeri out of her damaged shuttle. My crew left me here on purpose. Ku, I am not dead, and I am not alone anymore. Hyeri told Jiho terrible news about what was happening in the galaxy. The Vrexian Empire and Zelthian corporate syndicate had formed an alliance. They were spreading propaganda that humans were dangerous and needed to be controlled. Human colonies were being attacked or blockaded. Human citizens were being arrested and sent to prison camps. They are using your disappearance as proof, Hyeri explained. They say you went crazy and tried to destroy your own crew. They say all humans are unstable and cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Jiho felt angry, but he also felt sad. His former crew members were helping to destroy innocent people with their lies. We have to do something, he said. What can we do? Hyeri asked. There are only a few hundred humans left free in the galaxy. The aliens have all the ships and weapons. Jiho smiled and gestured toward the bustling community around them. We do not fight them with ships and weapons. We show them a better way. 3 weeks later, another ship arrived. This one was different. It was a human pirate vessel called the Steel Wolf, commanded by Captain Doyan Nam. The ship was old and patched with different metals, but it moved fast and carried heavy weapons. Doyon was a tall man with many scars and suspicious eyes. His crew included Yoonji Han, a weapons expert with short red hair, and Kyungmin K, a quiet tactical advisor who studied enemy movements. We heard rumors about this place, Doyan said to Jiho. Humans living free with alien allies. We thought it was too good to be true. It is true, Jiho replied. But we are not pirates here. We help people. Doyan laughed bitterly. Help people. Captain, the galaxy wants us dead. The only way to survive is to fight back harder than they fight us. Fighting back with violence only proves they are right about us, Jiho said. Come, let me show you something better. Jiho took Doyan and his crew on a tour of the settlement. They saw Quithron engineers working alongside Kethany farmers to build new irrigation systems. They saw human scientists like Hyeri teaching alien children about medicine and biology. They saw former enemies sharing meals and stories. Yunji was the first to understand. "This is not just a refugee camp," she said, with wonder. "This is a new kind of society." More ships arrived every week. The Mordluth were aquatic aliens who looked like giant blue dolphins with arms. Their ocean worlds were being poisoned by Zelthian mining operations. The Luminar were beings made of pure energy who lived inside crystal bodies. The Phyrexians had enslaved them to power their war machines. Each new species brought different skills and knowledge. The Mordluth were experts at cleaning pollution and growing food and water. The Luminari could repair damaged electronics just by touching them. Even species that had been enemies for centuries learned to work together on Moonketh 7. The key was Jiho's leadership style. He did not try to control anyone or make himself the ruler. Instead, he listened to everyone's ideas and helped them find ways to contribute. The Ketheni were natural diplomats who helped resolve conflicts between different groups. The first one's technology provided resources, so nobody had to compete for basic needs. "You are building something that has never existed before," Dr. Hyeri told Jiho one evening as they watched the sunset from the main platform of the ancient pyramid. "Different species living together in true equality. I am not building it alone." Jiho replied, "Everyone here is building it together." The moment that changed everything happened when representatives from 12 different species gathered in the pyramid's main chamber. The meeting was called to discuss a serious problem. Phyrexian scout ships had been spotted near the edge of the system. It was only a matter of time before the Empire discovered Moonketh 7. "We could hide," suggested Captain Boguk of the Quithron. "Use the first one's technology to shield our energy signatures." "We could fight," said Captain Doyen. "My ship is not the only human vessel that survived." "We could build a fleet." "We could run," said a Mordluth elder. "Find another system, start over somewhere new." But Jiho had a different idea. "We could invite them to join us." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the human captain. "Invite the Phyrexians?" Doyen asked. "The same aliens who are trying to exterminate humanity, not the Empire," Jiho explained. "But think about all the Phyrexian soldiers and workers who are tired of fighting. Think about the Zelthians who do not want to spend their lives making money from war. There must be some among them who want peace." Silvara stepped forward. In the months since the settlement began, she had become Jiho's closest advisor and friend. "The human speaks wisdom. My people have a saying, the enemy of today may become the ally of tomorrow if we show them a better path." The meeting continued for hours. Representatives argued and debated in dozens of different languages, but gradually they began to agree on something. They would not hide, fight, or run. They would create something new. They called it the Keth Accords, named after the moon that had brought them together. The agreement was simple but revolutionary. Every species that signed would be treated as equals. Resources would be shared fairly. Decisions would be made by consensus, not by the strongest or richest. Most importantly, anyone who wanted to join would be welcomed, regardless of their past. As each representative pressed their hand, claw, or energy field against the signing pad, the first one's technology recorded their agreement. The ancient AI translated their words into every language in the galaxy and broadcast the message across space. "We, the free peoples of many worlds, declare that a new age has begun. Reject the old ways of conquest and exploitation. We choose cooperation over competition, understanding over fear, and hope over hatred. Any being who shares these values is welcome among us." The message reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. On planets controlled by the Phyrexian Empire, Soldiers looked up from their weapons and wondered if there might be another way to live. In Zelthian corporate offices, accountants calculated the cost of endless war and found it too high. In human refugee camps, people who had given up hope began to dream again. But the message also reached the ears of those who had the most to lose from change. Commander Thakmer of the Vrexian Imperial Fleet read the transmission in his command. Center Engineer Veshika of the Zelthian Corporate Syndicate analyzed it in her laboratory. Both of them recognized the voice that had spoken the closing words of the broadcast. It was Captain Ji-Ho Kim, the human they had abandoned on a worthless moon over a year ago. Impossible, Thakmer snarled. He should have died on that primitive rock. Not impossible, Veshika said coldly as she studied the energy readings from Moonketh 7. But definitely unacceptable. The human has found something that could destroy everything we have built. They began to plan. Ji-Ho Kim and his alliance. If misfits wanted to change the galaxy, they would have to be stopped. The old order would not give up without a fight. But on Moonketh 7, Ji-Ho stood among his friends and allies, watching as more ships arrived every day. Some carried refugees. Others carried supplies, and a few carried former enemies who had decided to try a different path. "What have we started?" Hyeri asked, standing beside him. "Something that should have started long ago," Ji-Ho replied. "Something that will make the galaxy a better place for everyone." He did not know that war was coming. He did not know that. His former crew members were gathering the largest fleet in galactic history to destroy everything he had built. But he did know one thing for certain. Whatever happened next, he would not face it alone. 2 years had passed since Ji-Ho first activated the First One's technology. Moonketh 7 was now home to over 50,000 beings from 23 different species. The Alliance had grown beyond anything Ji-Ho had imagined when he first placed his hand on that ancient pillar. The settlement looked like a dream city from the future. Buildings of black stone rose gracefully from green gardens. Ships from across the galaxy landed daily at the expanded spaceport. Markets sold goods from hundreds of worlds, and schools taught children of all species to read, write, and work together. But Ji-Ho knew this peace would not last. Reports from across the galaxy grew worse each week. The Vrexian Empire and Zelthian Corporate Syndicate had united their forces and were hunting down anyone connected to the Alliance. Human colonies were being destroyed one by one. "We cannot stay hidden forever," Captain Doyan Nam said during the weekly council meeting. His pirate crew had become the core of the Alliance's defense force. "They will find us, eventually. The question is not if they will come," added Dr. Hyeri Choi, "but when and with how many ships." Ji-Ho studied the holographic map floating above the council table. Red dots marked enemy fleets moving through space. There were far too many of them. "What about the human colonies that are still free?" asked Silvara. She had learned to speak perfect galactic standard and often served as translator during meetings. "Only 3 remain," Hyeri said sadly. "New Sol, New Busan, and Terra Nova. The rest have been captured or destroyed." New Sol was the largest human colony, home to 2 million people. Ji-Ho had friends there from his academy days. The thought of them being attacked made his chest feel tight with worry. "We have to help them," he said. "With what ships?" Atoy asked. "We have maybe 30 vessels, and most of them are cargo haulers or small fighters. The Empire has thousands. Of warships, we have something they do not," Ji-Ho replied, looking around the room at his diverse council of allies. "We have the First One's technology." The ancient AI had been teaching Alliance engineers how to build new types of ships. These vessels did not look like normal spaceships. They were sleek and smooth, made of the same black material as the pyramid. They could move faster than anything in the galaxy and had weapons that fired beams of pure energy. But they only had 12 of the new ships completed. Against thousands of enemy vessels, it would not be enough. 3 days later, the worst news yet arrived. A damaged refugee ship brought word that New Sol was under attack. A massive Rexian fleet, led by Commander Thakmar himself, was bombarding the colony's defenses. "The shields are failing," the refugee captain reported. "They have maybe 6 hours before the planetary bombardment begins." Jiho made a decision that surprised everyone. "We go to help them. All of us," Captain Doyan said carefully. "That would be suicide. We cannot fight that many ships. We are not going to fight them." Jiho replied, "You're going to save as many people as we can, and we are going to show the galaxy who we really are." The Alliance fleet that jumped to hyperspace was unlike anything ever seen before. The 12 new ships led the way, followed by cargo vessels, medical ships, and even civilian transports. Every species in the Alliance had volunteered to help, even though they were not human and owed nothing to New Sol. When they arrived at the New Sol system, the sight was heartbreaking. The beautiful blue-green planet was surrounded by hundreds of Rexian warships. The colony's orbital stations were on fire, and debris floated through space like metallic snow. "This is Commander Thakmar of the Vrexian Imperial Fleet," came a transmission on all frequencies. "Surrender immediately, or watch your planet burn." "This is Captain Jiho Kim of the Free Alliance." Jiho responded, his voice calm and clear. "We are here to evacuate civilians. We do not want to fight." There was a long silence. Then Thakmar's voice came back, filled with anger and surprise. "Jiho Kim, impossible. You died on that primitive moon 2 years ago." "I lived, Commander. And I learned something important. There is a better way than conquest and fear." "You learned nothing." Thakmar roared. "You are still the same weak human I left behind. Surrender now, or I will destroy you and every ship with you." "No," Jiho said simply. What happened next shocked everyone watching. The 12 Alliance ships moved forward toward the massive Rexian fleet, but instead of firing weapons, they did something incredible. They began to phase in and out of normal space, becoming like ghosts that enemy weapons could not touch. The first one's technology allowed the ships to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Rexian plasma cannons fired right through them without causing any damage. Meanwhile, the Alliance ships used their energy beams to disable enemy vessels instead of destroying them. "What is this sorcery?" Thakmar demanded as his own flagship's weapons went offline, while the 12 advanced ships kept the enemy fleet confused and helpless. The rest of the Alliance vessels descended to New Sol's surface. They landed in the capital city and began evacuating civilians as fast as possible. Jiho personally led the rescue operation. He found Admiral Sun Hee-yoon, his former mentor from the Space Academy, coordinating the planet's defenses from an underground bunker. "Jiho," Admiral Yoon stared at her former student in disbelief. "But they said you were dead. They said you went insane and attacked your own crew." "They lied," Jiho said, helping the elderly admiral to her feet. "There is no time to explain. We need to get your people off this planet." "There are 2 million civilians here," Admiral Yoon protested. "You cannot evacuate them all." "Watch us," Jiho replied. The Alliance had planned for this. Ships from every member species worked together, like parts of a perfect machine. Quithrin engineers quickly built emergency shelters inside the cargo vessels. Mordluth medics treated the injured. Luminari technicians recharged ship batteries instantly. Even the Cathini used their diplomatic skills to keep panicked civilians calm in 4 hours. They evacuated 800,000 people. It was not everyone, but it was far more than anyone thought possible. During the evacuation, something unexpected happened. Many Vrexian soldiers, seeing the Alliance ships rescuing civilians instead of fighting, began to question their orders. Some of them secretly helped with the evacuation, guiding Alliance teams to hidden groups of survivors. On the Celestial Dawn, Ho's old ship that was now part of Thakmar's fleet, Navigator Minho Park and Communications Officer Sujin Lee watched the rescue operation with growing amazement and guilt. "This is not what they told us would happen," Minho whispered to Sujin. "They said Jiho became a terrorist. But look at him. He is saving people." "Maybe we made a mistake," Sujin replied, tears in her eyes. "Maybe we should not have left him behind." But Engineer Vishika, who was also watching from the bridge, had different thoughts. She saw the advanced technology of the Alliance ships and realized how much power Jiho now commanded. "This changes everything," she transmitted on a secret. Channel 2 Zelthian Corporate Headquarters. "The human has found something that could destroy our control of the galaxy. We need to act quickly." As the Alliance fleet prepared to leave with their rescued civilians, Commander Thakmar made one final attempt to stop them. He personally led a squadron of elite fighters in a direct attack on Jiho's ship. But the first one's technology had one more surprise. When Thakmar's fighters opened fire, the energy from their weapons was absorbed by the Alliance ship's shields and converted into a brilliant light show that painted rainbow colors across the entire star system. "Impossible," Thakmar breathed, as he watched his most powerful weapons create something beautiful instead of destruction. The Alliance fleet jumped to hyperspace, taking their rescued civilians to safety. But they left behind something more important than the people they saved. They left behind a message that spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. The message was simple. There was an alternative to the endless cycle of war and oppression. There were people building something better, and they welcomed anyone who wanted to join them. On dozens of worlds, beings who had never heard of humans before began to ask questions. If these strange creatures could build such beautiful ships and risk their lives to save strangers, maybe the propaganda about human savagery was wrong. But the rescue of New Sol also had consequences. Both the Vrexian Empire and Zelthian Corporate Syndicate realized that the Alliance was not just a group of refugees anymore. It was a real threat to their power. In the Imperial Palace on Rex Prime, Commander Thakmar knelt before his Emperor. "The human has powerful technology and growing support," he reported. "If we do not stop him soon, others will follow his example." "Then we will not stop him," the Emperor said coldly. "We will erase him and everything he has built from existence. Gather every ship in the Empire. Prepare for total war." On the corporate world of Zelthia engineer, Veshika presented her analysis to the board of directors. "The Alliance's technology could make our entire economy obsolete," she explained. "They share resources freely instead of selling them. They solve problems through cooperation instead of competition. If their ideas spread, we will lose everything. Then their ideas must not spread," the board chairman declared. "Use whatever methods are necessary. Destroy them all." Back on Moonket 7, Jiho stood in the main square watching the rescued civilians settle into their new homes. Children played together regardless of their species. Adults shared stories and skills. It was everything he had dreamed of when he first activated the ancient technology. But he also knew what was coming. Long-range sensors detected massive fleets gathering at the edges of known space. Both the Vrexian Empire and Zelthian Corporate Syndicate were preparing for war. "They will come with everything they have," Dr. Hyeri warned during an emergency council meeting. "Let them come," Silvara said firmly. "We are not the same people who hid in our villages anymore. We are strong together." Jiho looked around the room at his friends and allies. Humans and aliens who had learned to trust each other completely. Former enemies who had become family. "They think this is about power and territory," he said quietly. "They do not understand that this is about hope." and hope is stronger than any weapon they can build. Outside, the First One's technology continued to transform Moonketh 7. New ships grew like flowers in hidden shipyards. Ancient weapon systems that had slept for millennia began to wake up. The moon was preparing for the greatest battle in galactic history. But more importantly, across the galaxy, beings of every species were making a choice. They could continue living under the rule of fear and oppression, or they could take a chance on something better. The Alliance had grown far beyond what any single moon could hold. The real battle would not be fought with ships and weapons. It would be fought in the hearts and minds of every being in the galaxy. The largest fleet in galactic history surrounded Moonketh 7. Over 10,000 ships filled the space around the small world where Jiho had been abandoned 3 years ago. Rexian destroyers and Zelthian battlecruisers blocked out the stars. With their massive hulls, Commander Thokmar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the peaceful moon below. Cities of black stone glowed softly in the darkness. Gardens and lakes reflected the light of the system's star. It looked like paradise, which made him even angrier. "This should have been a worthless rock with one dead human on it," he growled. To his crew, Engineer Vashika appeared on his communication screen from her own command ship. "The analysis is complete. The energy readings from that moon are beyond anything we have ever seen. The human has found something extremely dangerous." "Not for much longer," Thakmar replied. "Prepare the planet killer weapons. You will turn that moon into space dust." But before the enemy fleet could attack, something unexpected happened. A single small shuttle launched from Moonketh 7 and flew straight toward the massive enemy armada. "Who is crazy enough to fly alone against 10,000 ships?" asked Thekmar's weapons officer. The answer came when the shuttle sent an identification signal. It was Jehoiakim, flying by himself in an unarmed transport. "This is Captain Jehoiakim." His voice came over all communication channels. "I request permission to board the Celestial Dawn and speak with my former crew." Thokmar laughed coldly. "The human wants to surrender." "How pathetic. Let him come. I want to look into his eyes when I tell him how we are going to destroy everything he built." The shuttle docked with the Celestial Dawn, the same ship that had abandoned Jiho 3 years earlier. When the airlock opened, Jiho stepped out wearing simple clothes and carrying no weapons. He looked older and calmer than before, but his eyes were still kind. Navigator Minho Park and Communications Officer Soo-Jin Lee were waiting for him in the docking bay. Both of them looked ashamed and could not meet his eyes. Captain Minho said quietly, "We are sorry. We believed their lies about earthquakes. We thought we were saving the crew." "I know," Jiho said gently. "They fooled you because you trusted them. That is not a weakness, Minho. That is why humans are special." Soo-Jin began to cry. "We left you to die on that alien moon. How can you forgive us?" "Because holding anger in my heart would poison everything good I have found," Jiho replied. "You made a mistake, but you are still my friends." Commander Thokmar and Engineer Vashika entered the docking bay with armed guards. They expected to see a broken man begging for mercy. Instead, they saw someone who radiated peace and confidence. "You look well for someone who is about to die," Thakmar said with a sneer. "I am not here to die," Jiho replied. "I am here to offer you one last chance to choose a better path." Vashika stepped forward, her blue skin pale with anger. "You destroyed our carefully planned galactic order. You gave dangerous technology to primitive species. You made them think they are equal to their betters." "I showed them that they are equal," Jiho corrected. "Every being in the galaxy has value. Every species has gifts to share. That is what the First Ones believed, and that is why they chose humans to inherit their legacy." "The First Ones," Thakmar frowned. What are you talking about? Jiho smiled sadly. You came here to destroy what you do not understand. The technology on this moon was left by a species so advanced they became pure energy. They waited thousands of years for someone worthy to find it, not the strongest or the smartest, but the ones with the best balance of wisdom and compassion. More human lies, Vashika snarled. There is no such technology. You are using tricks and illusions. Then attack, Jiho said simply. Fire every weapon you have at this moon. See what happens. Something in his voice made both aliens hesitate. Jiho was not afraid. He was not bluffing. He genuinely wanted them to attack so they could learn the truth. You are insane, Thakmar said, but he sounded less certain than before. I am hopeful, Jiho replied. I hope that when you see what real power looks like, you will understand that there is a better way to live. The confrontation was interrupted when alarms began blaring throughout the ship. On the main screen, they could see impossible things happening around the enemy fleet. Ships that had been dead in space for years were suddenly coming back to life. Vessels that had been abandoned or destroyed were rebuilding themselves from scattered debris. The Alliance fleet was growing larger by the minute, but not through reinforcements. The First One's technology was bringing back every ship that had ever been lost in this system. Ancient vessels from forgotten wars materialized out of hyperspace. Derelict cargo haulers repaired themselves and joined the Alliance formation. How is this possible? Vashika whispered, staring at her instruments in disbelief. The First Ones understood something you never learned, Jiho explained. Nothing is ever truly lost if someone remembers it with love. Every ship that was built with hope, every crew that fought for something good, every dream of peace that was destroyed, the technology remembers them all. But the most shocking moment came when the crew of the Celestial Dawn realized that their own ship was changing. The walls began to glow with the same soft light as the buildings on Moon Keth 7. Control panels showed readings they had never seen. Before the ship is choosing sides, Minho said with wonder. It remembers when we used to explore instead of conquer. Throughout the enemy fleet, the same thing was happening. Ships that had been used for war and oppression were remembering their original purpose of exploration and discovery. Their crews watched in amazement as their vessels transformed around them. Many of the Vrexian and Zelthian soldiers had joined their militaries because they wanted to see the stars, not because they wanted to hurt people. Now their ships were offering them a choice. This is impossible, Thakmar said, but his voice was weak. Ships cannot think or choose. These ships can, Jiho replied, because they were touched by the same technology that built the pyramids on my moon. Every piece of metal, every circuit, every power cell remembers what it was meant to be. The rebellion spread through the enemy fleet like wildfire. Entire squadrons switched sides as their crews realized they had been fighting for the wrong cause. Captains who had spent years following orders to destroy and oppress suddenly found themselves commanding ships that would only respond to peaceful intentions. Commander, Thakmar drew his weapon and pointed it at Jiho. I will not let you destroy everything I have built. But before he could fire, Minho and Sujin stepped between them. No more, Minho said firmly. We will not let you hurt him again. You are choosing the wrong side, Thakmar warned. We are choosing the right side, Sujin replied. Finally, Vashika tried to activate the self-destruct sequence on her command ship, but the technology refused to obey. Instead, her ship began broadcasting a message across the galaxy in every known language. This is the free vessel New Hope, formerly of the Zelthian corporate fleet. We reject the old ways of greed and oppression. We choose cooperation over competition, understanding over fear, and hope over hatred. Any being who shares these values is welcome among us. It was the same message the Alliance had been sending for 3 years, but now it was coming from former enemy ships. The psychological impact was enormous across the galaxy. Beings who had been afraid to challenge their governments suddenly found courage. If Rexian and Zelthian crews could change sides, anyone could. The battle that everyone expected never happened. Instead, there was the largest peaceful surrender in galactic history. 9 out of 10 enemy ships joined the Alliance willingly. Their crews were tired of fighting endless wars and wanted to be part of something better. Commander Thakmer and Engineer Veshika found themselves commanding just a few hundred ships out of the original 10,000. Most of their own officers had abandoned them to join the Alliance. This is not over. Thakmer transmitted to Jiho as his remaining ships retreated to hyperspace. We will return with more forces. You are welcome to return anytime you want. To join us, Jiho replied. But you will find no more forces to command. The galaxy is choosing a new path. He was right. Within days, reports came from across known space. The Vrexian Empire was collapsing as entire sectors declared independence. The Zelthian corporate syndicate was bankrupt as workers abandoned their jobs to join free cooperative communities. 6 months later, Jiho received a message that made him smile. It was from Admiral Sun Haeyun, now the elected president of the new Galactic Confederation. The Earth government wants you to come home, the message said. They want to make you the official ambassador to the Confederation. They say humanity needs leaders who understand cooperation. Jiho was standing on the observation deck of his ship, looking out at the amazing fleet around him. Former enemies worked together maintaining vessels. Species that had never spoken before were teaching each other their languages. Children of a dozen different worlds played together in the ship's gardens. "Will you go back to Earth?" asked. She had become his closest friend and advisor, and now served as the Alliance's chief diplomat. "We will all go," Jiho replied. "It's not just to Earth, but to every world that wants to learn about cooperation. We have work to do." Dr. Hyeri Choi joined them at the window, carrying her latest report. The first one's technology has been activated on 47 worlds now. Each one is becoming a center of learning and cooperation. And the best part, added Captain Doyan Nam, whose former pirate crew now ran the Alliance's exploration division, is that we are finding new species every week who want to join us. As their ship prepared to jump to hyperspace, Jiho thought about the journey that had brought him. Here, 3 years ago, he had been abandoned on a distant moon, left to die by people he trusted. Today, he was leading the largest peaceful alliance in galactic history. The final message came from an unexpected source: Navigator Minho Park and Communications Officer Su Jin. Lee had been elected to represent their reformed crew in the new Confederation government. Captain Minho's message said, "Thank you for showing us that being left behind was actually being set free. We understand now that the best leaders are not the ones who command others, but the ones who help others find their own strength." Jiho smiled as he watched the stars stretch into lines around them. They were not going home as conquerors or heroes. They were going home as teachers and friends, ready to share what they had learned about the power of hope and cooperation. The human who had been left behind on purpose had indeed come back with allies. But more than that, he had come back with proof that the galaxy could be a better place for everyone. The age of empire and oppression was over. The age of cooperation and understanding had begun. And it all started with one abandoned human who refused to give up hope.